If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So usually somebody would say there's a new sheriff in town, but no, President Trump has been sworn back in as our 47th commander-in-chief. As of the time of this broadcast, it just happened seconds ago. And, it's been a beautiful inauguration day. It's interesting because I wake up and I'm hearing that President Trump and Melania are about to have tea, a pre-inauguration tea with President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden. And, I'm thinking to myself, and I kind of posted this, if I was about to run the country again, I would need something more than tea. I would probably need a Red Bull, maybe a shot of vodka or tequila, but they had tea. So that was, I guess, the caffeine that they got. And really beautiful. Everybody was smiling. And Kamala Harris was smiling. And her husband was there. Excuse me. And you saw the family come in. Amy Klobuchar, I think the inauguration master of ceremonies. You saw a lot of bipartisan. Hakeem Jeffries was there, Chuck Schumer, as well as dignitaries like Mark Zuckerberg and Bezos and Elon Musk. And, it's really a beautiful ceremony. It's going to be going on all day. Now that President Trump has been sworn in, I believe he next does his inaugural address, and I believe then the executive orders start getting signed. Actually, the inaugural address, and then there has to be a peaceful and a very honorable departure of President Biden and Jill Biden. They're making it very beautiful. You see all the prior, Barack Obama is there, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are there, George Bush, the former vice presidents like Dan Quayle. We've been seeing I still have to dig a double take because Dan Quayle was very young. So every time I see him, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to dig. Oh, that's Dan Quayle. Their wives. It's interesting because a lot of the individuals invited, they couldn't bring their wives because there was just not enough room in the rotunda. It had to be moved to the rotunda because of the freezing cold. They didn't want people getting frostbite. They also probably for protection of the president, being that he survived 2 assassination attempts. But after the singing, which is happening right now, he's going to give his inaugural address. Then President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will have an honorary departure. Then the new president is going to have a signing ceremony where he signs the nominations, memorandums, proclamations, and executive orders. This is according to CBS News. And then there's going to be a luncheon. Dying to know what gets served. Usually with these fancy schmancy luncheons, it's like salad and fish or maybe something chicken. I would be in the mood for prime rib. I'm just in that kind of a mood right now. I am hungry. And then they call it the pass and review, during which the president and vice president review military troops. And then there's a presidential parade that's going to take place at the Capital One Arena in downtown Washington, which from what I understand is filled to the max. And so the theme of this year's ceremonies is Our Enduring Democracy, a Constitutional Promise. So while this schedule is going on all day, you're going to have Carrie Underwood sing, Lee Greenwood. There's going to be a lot of entertainment. It's one thing that I think bipartisanly I'm picking up on, and this is something that not a lot of people really are talking about, but it's the thing that I'm picking up on is whenever you kind of go through a period like we did post-COVID, where, like, where is anybody? Is anybody here to help? Or where's the work ethic? Or people are not showing up to work. I think both Democrats and Republicans know that Trump is about to work day one. Now, they have that a part of the inauguration ceremony where they sign executive orders. But from what I understand, there's at least 100 that he's going to be instituting. Some people get a little fearful of that power and all that, but every president, Barack Obama, everybody signs executive orders and wants to mark their presidency. Is the stuff going to get done? Is the border wall going to be built? Or is the economy going to get better? Are we going to rely less on foreign supply, and not do it domestically? So it'll be very interesting to see what he passes and what starts to get done. But interestingly, his team, wow, he's got some pretty sharp people on his team. And when you look at the attorney general, when you look at who's the vice president, when you look at these people are going to work. And another thing about Trump is he fires you if you don't work, if you don't get something done. He's very well known for firing. So if somebody is sleeping on the job or taking off every Friday or starting to wind down on Thursday because it's a 3-day weekend, he's not going to tolerate it. So things are going to get done. And I think Trump is going to redefine work ethic, which is something that's been kind of falling off. Even though the Biden administration did do a lot, in fact, we're going to be talking about this later, he just made a whole bunch of pardons. We don't really see Biden per se as being the let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. He's, had a much different presidency, and some of the things he did do didn't seem to be that popular. We'll see what happens with Trump. I'm actually excited to see what it'll bring. I'm expecting it to be a whirlwind. I think it's going to be very, very busy. He's right now addressing the world. But the things that I want per se is I want all the hostages home. We've had 3 Israeli hostages returned in quote unquote good health. Who knows what they endured for 447 days of captivity under Hamas rule. But we still have 97 more that have to be released. So I want Trump to bring them home. I want to avert World War III. I do not want to see war erupt in the Middle East. I want to see the war end with Putin in Ukraine. Can Trump do that, being the American president? He promised to. Can he fix our economy? How's he going to handle the excessive costs and inflation? How's he going to control gas prices? What's he going to do in terms of the environment, in terms of the hospital infrastructure? So I think there's a lot of excitement because we have somebody that promises to actually get to work and not take a lot of vacations and go to the beach. So we'll see what happens. But welcome back, President Trump. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So, oftentimes, we think to ourselves words of wisdom or inspiring messages, and there's one that keeps, I guess, resonating in my head week after week. And this is one of my favorite quotes. And honoring Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today, there's so many inspirational words. This man was wiser beyond, probably one of the wisest men to ever walk the planet. But this is one of my favorite quotes that I always love to talk about, and I like to teach people. It's if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And I keep saying this to myself, whether it was in medical school, whether it was having a medical issue, whether it was just through any trials or tribulations in life. You know, if you can't fly, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. If you can't crawl, do whatever you have to do to keep moving. And whenever you watch these, I don't know if it was that movie with Mark Wahlberg where he was the lone soldier and where you thought he was going to die, but he just kept moving. You know, when you need to get to a goal, when you need to survive, when you need to live, if you think there is something that is insurmountable, keep moving. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we see a wall is we stop. You could do a million things. You could climb the wall. You could go around the wall. You could take a back step and go in a different path. But somehow in our conscious, in our psyche, when we see a wall, we stop. And we're like, well, there's a wall. And Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was one to elicit that you keep moving. You know, anything is possible. Look at President Trump. I mean, oh my gosh, how many people tried to prevent him from coming back into office? You know, you keep moving. And if you're a Democrat, you might feel this is a wall. We all have the power to keep moving. And we may not be able to get to that path by flying and soaring. You know, like you'll see individuals that are very successful, like Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all that, all of them, Elon Musk. And we might look at them as they were able to soar and fly or hop on a jet to get to their level of success. And I don't really know a lot of their backstories, with the exception of maybe Mark Zuckerberg, you know, who was at Harvard at the time. But obviously he had a much nicer plane than I did. But for most of us, it's because we had to crawl. And the other thing with that quote, the reason why I love it is I guess in society, have made crawl a bad thing. You had to crawl back to me. You had to crawl. I don't look at crawl as a negative term at all. I look at crawl as determination. I think the word crawl is you are going to get there no matter what. It might not be on two legs. Sorry, my nuts are coming back. It might not be, you know, you might have to use your hands, you might have to use your knees, but You're going to get there. It's interesting. My kids didn't really crawl for too long. I think maybe for a day or two. And they got up walking because they want to walk. And I wouldn't have minded. I kind of missed the crawl stage. But when you see an infant crawl, I mean, they want to get to where they want to go. And they are determined. And we don't really celebrate the crawl. You need to fly. You need to soar. You need to run. You need to walk upright. Why not crawl? Why not? You know how many people have disabilities? You know how many people have challenges? And they might not be able to, have that same sort of height in terms of their path. They could get there. So I that's one of my favorite quotes. Also, I love honoring Martin Luther King Jr. today. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I have lived by this my whole life. When there would be an enemy or a bully, being mean to them would fuel them. I would instead be really, really nice. I would be kind. They would get hurt by another bully, or they would get hurt. I went to 12 schools. So I got to meet a lot of bullies. I got to see a lot of kids, and I would help them. And when you show love, it's probably one of the most powerful. It's even more powerful than hate, love. And so I think, if more of us could not use darkness to drive out darkness, but use light, that is just wise beyond words. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. It's similar to, we might have lost the battle, but we could still win the war. Now, and what Martin Luther King Jr. has done for civil rights, what he had done for unity, what he had done for democracy was exceptional. It's crushing that he didn't get to live out all his years. And his assassination was a wound that I don't think America will ever recover from. But we can keep his spirit alive, and we can keep the education and the very smart words, the words of wisdom, alive by remembering it and teaching. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. When I hear this, I think of the third Indiana Jones movie, where he had to take that step. There was a deep canyon. And he, his book had told him that he needs to take that first step, but he's like, I'm going to fall. And he just had to close his eyes, and he just had to have faith. And, being a person of faith, I can't tell you how often I've witnessed that, where the path looked like it was going to go to ruin. And I just put faith, if that's what God was telling me, and it worked. So faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And, he's right. Other inspiring quotes that I've taught my family is, the time is always right to do what is right. Many of us say, don't put off tomorrow what you could do today. Martin Luther King Jr. reminds us that time, if you're going to do something right and you're going to do something good, you do it now. The time is always right for you to do something good. You don't have to wait till, I'm going to donate at Christmas time, or I'm going to wait till the summer, or I'm going to do something good for that person later on. It reminds us that we never know how long we have. We never know how long, you have a loved one that you haven't seen and you haven't spent time with. You don't know how long they're going to be here. And don't put off tomorrow what you could do today. And his quote to the time is always right to do what is right is just brilliant. He says, true peace. This comes from unexpected virtualtours.com. True peace is not merely the absence of tension. It is the presence of justice. He spoke those words in his book, Stride Towards Freedom, in 1958. Just absolutely. It's the presence of justice. We could go on. There's just so many things he said, and The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. I wish Martin Luther King Jr. was alive to run our school system. You need to be able to think critically. We have the last few years lost our way where if somebody wanted to challenge something, that's misinformation, you're wrong, you're stupid. Martin Luther King even said it. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. If somebody said that people have to use 2 separate bathrooms, let somebody say why this is wrong. Whites and blacks and people of all races should be able to share the same bathroom. If science is saying, this medicine just doesn't work, why aren't we looking at it critically? There's hypotheses. That's what science is all about. And if you're in college and you bring up, what if so-and-so could make a good president, or what if this is wrong? All of a sudden you get canceled. So I'd like to see educators teach what Martin Luther King Jr. taught us, honoring him on this day and every day. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So when I was going to medical school, they had BMI, body mass index, and I didn't like it. I was actually slim. I had lower body fat. I remember I had the lowest triglycerides in my class. Not the lowest body fat in my class, but I had the lowest triglycerides in my class, 44. I exercised profusely even when I had mono. There were a lot of skinnier people in my class, people I think more fit. But I remember my BMI, even though it was technically normal, I would have thought it would be a lot smaller. But, when you are 5'6", double D, size 10 feet, your body mass index might not follow the same as somebody who's a size 2. And so I always kind of found that to be, well, if you got somebody who's quote unquote bigger boned, of a different genetics, body mass index might not work. And then, we had many patients of different demographics saying, I don't get this. Because of my height, my BMI is different, or because of my race, my BMI puts me into obesity. And so we've been calling for a better measurement for a very, very long time. And I think, in medicine, things are very slow to change. It takes a long time because it takes so long to finally come up with something that doctors don't want to look like they're, switching something all of a sudden quickly. Although, boy, did everybody jump on this weight loss drug bandwagon. But usually in medicine, they want to it needs to be tried and true. Everybody wants to make sure they're not going to get sued. Study after study, and, they basically need it like dough, pizza dough. That's not a 30-minute pizza. And it takes forever to get something in the books and then to change it. But now we have researchers in the Lancet saying, can we come up with a better way? So your body mass index is calculated by dividing your weight by the square of your height in feet. Or no, that should be centimeters. Anyway, and so a group of 58 researchers is calling for a better way. The team published their recommendation in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology on January 14th. Now, I would base somebody's obesity on not only their weight, but their body fat measurements, their fat deposits around their organs, fatty liver, fat near the mesentery, fat surrounding their organs. I would also base it on their insulin resistance. That's just me. BMI has been around since the 1980s, and they're recommending that obesity is a spectrum rather than a single distinct clinical entity, such as a number. And so they proposed reframing it to distinguish between people who have a disease here and now and those who may have a risk for future disease. So look at adiposity or fat deposits, excess body fat. They recommend measuring waist circumference or taking body scans to measure fat mass. Now, a group of experts recommends, according to Fox News, 2 levels of obesity, preclinical and clinical. So preclinical, meaning they'll be able to predict if you're going to get fat. That just anybody about to have a baby, I got to tell you, your fat deposits change. I loved my stomach. I had a great tummy, 6-pack. It was tight. After the baby, no, didn't happen. With preclinical obesity, the person has excess body fat that has not affected the function of their tissues and organs. But you have an increased risk of developing clinical obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, types of cancer. And clinical obesity is where you have, quote, a chronic systemic illness characterized by alterations in the function of tissues, organs, the entire individual, or a combination thereof due to excess adiposity. So some of you might be listening to this going, okay, so do we really have to reinvent the science? You're either overweight, fat, not. The problem is it's not working. We have now started to scare medical professionals into bringing up weight because of something called fat shaming. If a doctor brings up to a patient, and remember, most people don't see their regular doctor anymore. It's a new doctor every time. You rarely get the same, the concept of family medicine is starting to go by the wayside in terms of being able to be with your same provider all the time. Most people's providers, leave or get hired or by somebody else or close their practice down. And so when you have a new doctor say, now let's look at your weight. Your weight is high. That person goes to Yelp saying, I got fat shamed by this doctor. And no, he's trying to protect you against end organ damage and diabetes and heart disease. So now medical professionals say, I just don't bring it up. I don't need to be accused of fat shaming. Well, then we're not doing our job. So doctors are trying to figure out, or these researchers are trying to figure out what to do with the obesity problem. Also, now you could take pictures and you could pose in certain ways, and you could, in a picture, look like you have a BMI of 21. Meanwhile, your actual BMI is 35. And if people aren't thinking to themselves, I have obesity, maybe we need to make it more clinical. Maybe we need to make it more medical. Obesity has been now considered cosmetic. Well, I need Spanx to now fit into my pants. Or, I need a bigger size. Or clothes don't look as good if they're not a size 2. I can't look like Ivanka Trump. Or is Ivana Trump? Ivana, I always mix the two up. I can't look like her. So people start to go, well, I need to change the way I look. And they made it cosmetic. Well, maybe we need to go back to clinical. You have yellow fat globules surrounding your liver, not allowing your liver to work properly. If that doesn't scare you to put down the alcohol and to put down the fatty foods and to not get to the gym, I don't know what would. And maybe we do need to do that. Maybe people actually need to see the fat. I had some friends who did lipo. I haven't done lipo. I know I need to. Many of you have suggested I do. I'm just not ready to do that yet. I just would rather lose the weight naturally. But I had friends who did lipo, and they said the doctor showed them what got suctioned out. That scared the living daylight out of them. Fat is scary. And, society is like, yeah, but if you look too skinny and look too gaunt, you look sick. Well, yeah, somebody with end-stage cancer may look very, very gaunt because cancer is hypermetabolic and you go, but a healthy weight is healthy looking. And so, I support medical providers trying to add, it's different strokes for different folks. For some people, they need a number. And they need to work with the number and know how to reduce that number or change that number. With other people, they need to weigh themselves. With other people, they need a personal trainer. Everybody needs something different. But right now, we're having a hands-off approach where medical providers are afraid to say something because they don't want to trigger somebody. And we're not doing medicine that properly. So if you are having rolls of fat, if there are areas that do not have muscle, and mind you, as we age, we are going to distribute and deposit fat differently. It's going to happen. After you breastfeed, your breasts are going to look different. There's some things your fat will redistribute, but you could still keep it in check. And to me, if you have fat deposits and fat globules floating around your bloodstream, depositing around your tissues, that's a sign that there's a problem, a very serious problem. One thing that works for me is I want to be able to be carried out. If God forbid, there's a fire and there's a fireman who's very sexy and muscular and in uniform, saying, Dr. Daliah, I'll save you and I'll carry you out. I want him to be able to carry me out. You know how unsexy that would be for him to say, oh, wait a second, let me get a group of guys or a wheelbarrow. So that works for me. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the inauguration ceremonies are still going on. There's been a couple little glitches. Carrie Underwood did a fantastic job. I believe she was supposed to have a musical arrangement behind her and all that, and she just sang it a cappella because it was people were kind of waiting, and she was, join me, and did a beautiful rendition. And what's fascinating about Carrie Underwood, and I think this is one of the biggest things I'm excited about with this next presidency, is since 2016, part of society made individuals feel like they were evil, they were despicable, deplorable, and should get fired or canceled if at all they supported a Republican candidate. Well, you're anti-woman. You're anti-this, you're anti-that. And so even celebrities, like Hollywood celebrities, said they had to keep quiet, or once they voiced their political affiliation, or their like John Voight or Clint Eastwood or Kelsey Grammer, that they got shunned. And it's interesting because a lot of these individuals ended up, then making their own movies, then producing their own movies. If Hollywood wasn't going to touch you because you are of the other side, good for them. And it's been a constant struggle. And this has gone on for a very, very long time. And here you have Carrie Underwood, who I was a big fan since American Idol. Love watching her every Sunday night. Ooh, Sunday night, singing the football song. And she's, here she is invited to sing at the inauguration. She greeted President Biden. She greeted President Trump. And I think the women on The View were starting to give her crap. Whoopi Goldberg defended her. Whoopi Goldberg said, I'm not going to watch but she's allowed to perform. And I think we're slowly starting to see this lack of, okay, we're going to bully you and cancel you. And and I understand the bullying is what some groups will do to prevent you from voting and to prevent the other side from having a fair chance. But people overcame that. And once they saw that, you know what? I don't care anymore. You can't cancel me any more than you have. And I am an American, and I want to support the candidate that I want to support. You know how many family members I have that support both Trump or Biden? I love them all. They're my family. Okay, politics is not supposed to cause you to lose your job. Politics is not supposed to deny other people access to your art or your education or your skills. And they did that. People would get fired if they didn't want to get the vaccine. We let politics do this. And so to see individuals say, you know what? I don't care if you want to cancel me. And it's going to be very interesting because the NFL, has been trying to balance this whole, they were able to stop, kneeling during the national anthem by saying, look, you have every right to not want to stand at the national anthem. Just stay in the locker room. We're going to play the national anthem. If you don't want to kneel, stay in the locker room. If you don't want to stand and put your hand over your heart, or be there for the national anthem, stay in the locker room. We'll play it for those who want to. And this way, they kind of handled the kneeling issue. People watch football to be away from politics. They don't want to see politics. Not to mention, our players are blessed to be able to have the jobs they have and to play football because of this great country. And NFL likes to honor their veterans. And the last thing they want to do is to send a message of people, and I get there's protests. People were concerned about police brutality, and this is America. We have the right to assemble, but why are you doing it during the national anthem? Well, why not do it when you have control of the ball and you are in the end zone? Why don't you do your protest then? I mean, you can protest anytime you want, but you're going to do it during the national anthem. So it's, it'll be interesting to see if the NFL continues to work with Carrie Underwood. They should. Just because she performs at an inauguration ceremony does not mean she should be canceled. And I'm really probably one of the most excited things I'm besides the border and economy and everything else, and hopefully the prevention of World War III, is people get to start supporting who they want to support. And you don't have to hide it. You should be able to be proud, wearing an American flag, wearing a cross, wearing a Magen David, wearing a skull cap. You should be able to be proud of who you are. And this cancel culture needs to flip and stop. And so you start seeing Dana White and Lee Greenwood and Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan and Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson and all these individuals come out. And I am very proud, not today, and not very proud of some of the moves previously made by some of these tech titans, but I'm very proud of them being able to say, look, whoever the president is, I'm going to work with them. And you see Mark Zuckerberg change his tune because of, him being interviewed on Joe Rogan's podcast, where the Biden administration was calling and cussing and, telling him to do something. There has to be a better way to work with the current administration. Now, I'm an American. If Joe Biden needed me or Donald Trump needed me, I'm here to serve. Whether it's in medical, whether it's to sing. Yeah, I doubt they'd have me sing. Maybe. One day they might. Especially if their hearing is going. But if I'm called to serve, I'm going to serve. Because I'm American. We're American first. My family escaped the Holocaust. It took 5 years for them to, or about 20 years, for them to get a visa that approved them to finally come in the 1960s. Thank God they had refuge in Israel. And they come to America, they learned the language, they took the test, they passed their citizenship test, and then they worked and paid taxes. And I'm a first-generation American because of that. Now, my mom, actually a first generation from my dad's side. Now, and I'm very grateful, so grateful. So to me, that comes first. And if I like one candidate more than the other, you shouldn't fire me. You shouldn't cancel me. You shouldn't censor me. You want to make America great again, we need to listen to all sides. I'm an American that, loves the environment. I support LGBTQAI plus rights in terms of marriage. I think children who are transgender should not be experimented on or go through anything that could be permanently harming to them. I'm fiscally of common sense. I don't know where that puts me, right or left, but I'm American, and I think a lot of us agree on the same thing. And so if we start to see Hollywood and other individuals say, look, look at what Nick Bosa did during one of the 49er games. This was the day before or 2 days before the election, where he shows his MAGA hat. Now, I understand he got fined because the NFL wants non-political, and I get that. But, that kind of opened a San Francisco, rock star of a football player showing his political support made other people think, you know what? It's okay. I'm not a bad person. I don't have to hide it. And that's something I'm really excited about in this next administration. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.